Welcome to my plants update. This is the alocasia brancifolia, and I purchased this at Canadian Tire almost 2 months ago now. It has since given me 2 new leaves, but one fell off. So I thought it was gonna be a 3-leafer, the way that alocasia are famous for. I have always been afraid of getting alocasia because I heard that they were difficult, finicky. I thought maybe they were only the kinds of plants that I could keep in an enclosed cabinet or something like that, and I'm just not about that. I don't need my plants to be high maintenance yet because I just don't have the setup or ability. I'm new. So the stems have this beautiful zebrina-esque pattern, and the leaves remind me of those serrated philodendron leaves. I did not ever know about this plant before seeing it at Canadian Tire, nor did I ever aspire to own it. Going forward, I'm being very particular about anything that I purchase just because my collection has exploded. The planter is from Winners. It was $12.99. I think it was a bit pricey, but it's got a drainage hole. Ooh, I gotta clean that. Now we have the only begonia in my collection. This is the begonia fannie moser. Fannie moser? Yeah, I believe that's what it's called. I purchased this originally thinking it was a maculata. This is such a hardy begonia. It gives me lots of little leaves. It does have some damage from when I purchased it. I got this for $13.99 at Canadian Tire. I think the pot was also $12. It's really peculiar because I realized that this nursery fits exactly on the rim, as you can see. And then it's got a little elevation, which is nice because the water can go down. I have it on a chopstick right now with a couple of garden clips that are from Dollarama. I purchased this 3 months and a week ago. I can never neglect to mention how beautiful the back sides of these leaves are, how red. They look stunning for Halloween and the fall season. They're very autumnal looking. Brasiliopuntia brasiliensis. I knew it was some kind of opuntia. I thought it was just regular opuntia prickly pear, but that one actually looks different than this one. I'm still not sure. That's just my best guess according to Google image search. I kept it on the balcony this summer, so it had a lot of new growth up here. When my mom purchased it, it must have been 2020 or 2021, and she got this at Canadian Tire. Pricked the cashier and my mom was like, "Be careful, the needles on this thing are lethal." And yet she still purchased it. And yeah, I'm so scared of repotting this. I don't need to repot it. It's the one plant that doesn't get harassed by the squirrels for very obvious reasons, because actually the cacti don't get harassed by the squirrels if they have thorns, period. They just leave these guys alone. So I leave them on my balcony in the summer. It's really big, as you can see. Crotch to up here. Calathea lancifolia, otherwise known as the rattlesnake plant. I purchased this at Canadian Tire 3 months and 1 week ago. Here she is, very little. I previously had it in a different nursery pot, but I recycled this one from another plant just because I felt it was drying out quickly. This likes to be quite moist, but not soaking wet. And I've noticed some growth, but it's just not super noticeable right now because it's still really small. So until I look at the footage from when I purchased it, you don't really notice the growth, and it does take quite a while. They're super cute because in the evening, they go up, the leaves, you know, also known as prayer plants. They move throughout the day, which is really cute to watch. And I put it in this little cup, the Joe Fresh stuff at Maxi. It was $8, and I was just really intrigued by this. But in retrospect, it would have been nice to have a pot without these handles, because if I try to put this somewhere where there's other plants, this takes up room. But I'm trying to space out my plants at the same time. So, and I've heard it's a less fussy type of calathea, so it's the only one in my collection. Next we have my ceropegia woodii, otherwise known as a string of hearts, and I believe this to be a mix between variegated and non-variegated, unless some of these have reverted and maybe that's why. But even when I purchased it, some of the leaves did not have the white edge on it. One thing that's super exciting about this, ooh, I gotta be so careful because it got caught on my zipper on my sweater. I have seen the first blooms. Can you believe that? This string of hearts, the begonia fannie moser, and my calathea were all purchased on the same day, 3 months and a week ago. Like I said, this one has started to get its own little blooms, which is so cute. I think there are 1, 2, oh, this one's so little. I am so happy since I changed the location of this. I mean, previously it was under a grow light in my living room, and it was doing well, don't get me wrong. But now I think that the combination of the heat and the direct sunlight is making this plant so happy. Codiaeum variegatum. I have 2 crotons. I believe this is actually the top cut from this one, because when this one was snipped, it split into 2. The new leaves are, yeah, they're coming out properly variegated, but these ones are not. I don't know if they'll become more variegated, not sure. I keep this one next to a grow light actually, but it's receiving indirect grow light. This one right now, the bigger top cut here, that actually lost all of its center leaves. It actually has 2 windows. It's got north and west floor to ceiling, but my plant shelves are on top of it, and it's a great shelf situation. It's actually a rolling closet. I'm kind of just, you know, seeing what happens with them. Maybe I'll give it a chop. This one, I think I could chop. This is new growth down here. I'm not exactly sure what to do with this right now. I would like to consolidate because it takes up room, obviously. This part is just so bushy that I don't want to disparage that. But I just, like I said, I don't know when I'm going to do it or how I'm going to do it. I'm just talking out of, I'm just making ideas in my head, but I'm not committing to anything because I just have so much more fun playing with different plants that these just kind of get less attention. But if you can see on top, these leaves are nicely variegated. So these ones are doing okay. This is the Dracaena trifasciata. My gosh, horrific pronunciation, so sorry. I've had this for a long time. My mom bought this many years ago. I think we even had it while we had the cat and he didn't mind it. She split it into 2. I combined it into 1 because I just felt like I don't need 2 of these. In fact, this is very much in need of watering. I see some very wrinkled leaves, but had I watered it before starting to film this clip, I would have had a really difficult time carrying this over with wet soil. Some of the leaves are, I don't know if you call it etiolated, if they haven't received enough light and they're curled on the bottom and then they're wide on top. We used to not keep it in the best light situations. Right now it's in a west facing window and it's almost floor to ceiling, if not floor to ceiling actually. It's not much to write home about. It's just your regular mother-in-law's tongue. Look at this. This thing is so long. Next we have this echeveria, which I took some cuttings of. There was a lot of space between the leaves. It was just growing elongated and poorly. So I went ahead and made some propagations and I'm working on it. We'll see what becomes of this. But I don't really aspire for it to look as gorgeous as the ones that you purchase at the store or that are grown under professional grow lights or strong sun, because I live in a northwest facing apartment. Epipremnum, Aureum golden. Obviously I forgot to tape this, so I'm taping it now. This plant has been cloned more times than I can count. I have several versions of it. It used to be wrapped around a moss pole that wasn't properly maintained. There's one other potted epipremnum in the living room. Here I have 3 nursery pots consolidated into 1 acrylic fridge organizer, and I have been thinking about putting something or some of these on a closed back moss bowl just to practice, because I've never used a proper moss bowl before. And I think that this would be the right plant to try that out with, because I wouldn't be sad if I lost a piece of it. But then the other part of me is like, oh, I could just take a cutting from a plant that I like better. I don't know, we'll see. Next we have my epipremnum marble queen, or pothos marble queen pothos, whatever, I don't know what order you're supposed to say it in, but look at her, she's crying, this is looking so good. I'm so happy about this. I got this strand from the receptionist at my job, and her and I share a love of plants, and so we trade cuttings, which is a nice way to save on those planty bills, if you know what I'm saying. Mind you, I still get a little spendy. Right now I have it on my shelf that is near a north-facing window. I don't give it all that much light, and it's doing its thing. Chicken wang. This thing just makes me so happy. I love this plant combination as well. It's in a nursery pot that she gave me, and I backfilled it a little bit because it was going a little bare, but this strand came to me quite itty bitty, but now it's looking real and nice and luscious, and I love it. I might have to start taking propagations to fill this up so that I can get a nice fuller baby girl. Yeah, she's a queen. This makes me so happy. You don't understand the growth. I mean, you do understand. If you're here, you know why. It's like free serotonin, y'all. I got that marble queen cutting 3 months and 1 week ago. I went out and purchased the Cebu blue epipremnum, and so 3 months, 2 weeks old. I do have cuttings of this. Some of them have failed, but now I have a lively strand on my windowsill beside the string of hearts. Yeah, I have it climbing up a trellis to try to encourage it to get some bigger leaves. The bigger leaves down here are the original leaves, and I got this at Marché Milton. I think it was $10 or $9.99, something like that. And the owner gave me this whole story, not when I purchased it, but when I went back to purchase my philodendron Brazil, a whole story about how this was so expensive over the pandemic and that a tiny cutting cost $25 back in the day, and he had a client that went and got him a cutting of it. He grew it into this big monster mama. It's funny that you can buy something at a store and still get a life story from a plant and hear a little bit about its legacy. Pot is from Indigo and the trellis is from Dollarama. The burgundy ficus elastica. I have it in a pot from Winners Home Sense, aka Marshall's. I love this pot so much because of the texture in the checkers, and it was $12.99. I believe that this ficus cost me $11 at Canadian Tire, and I purchased it almost 4 months ago. In a week it'll be 4 months old, and it got a severe chopping because it had some kind of a bouts with, I suspect, spider mites, but I'm not sure. I didn't actually see them. I just saw a lot of white faded marks on the leaves, so I cut all of those off. I gave it a nice hose down, and the little twig that lost so many leaves is starting to fill up now, so that is very promising. And I have it in a serrated pot, which is originally, I believe, to be for orchids. I just wanted to make sure that there was proper aeration in this. I always wanted a rubber burgundy. I don't know what it is about this plant. I just think it's so hardy and beautiful, and the fact that it could turn into a little tree in my home one day is just really appealing to me. This is the Ficus elastica shivereana, and it is coming in really nice. It's just so beautiful. I love the color of this ficus. I keep it in a cup that I've cut up, and I punch some holes on the bottom so that it has some drainage. 4 months ago at Jean Couture, it came potted with a Syngonium Pink Perfection, which I very promptly separated because they have very different watering necessities. There is a new leaf coming in. It's this like really cute orangey kind of stem that pops out. I haven't had any problems with this. There was a tiny leaf down by the soil that died off, but I mean, it's all good. I love it, it's so cute. And I did think about getting the Taniki is what it's called, the other one that's variegated that looks like watercolors, but I stuck to the moonshine. I bought this curtisii at a marketplace outside of Mount Royal mid-August, so 3 months ago. And the stem has died off. I've actually potted it back into this little, because originally I bought it in a nursery pot this size and I up potted it. I felt like it was fuller and it needed more, but it really didn't need more. So I'm probably the reason why this didn't fill out sooner. This was, I think, $9, which I think is really expensive for the amount of vine that I got. That was quite pricey. I have seen this for much cheaper at Canadian Tire. Continuing on with Hoyas. Hoyas have quickly become my favorite, I think, just because they are really addictive. Let us begin with Hoya Crimson Princess. I got this. This was my first Hoya actually, before the curtisii. This was purchased 3 months and 3 weeks ago at Canadian Tire, $8.99. I love this plant. I love the foliage. I see lots of new stuff coming in. It's really beautiful. My one little gripe with this right now is that the variegated leaves seem to be on the vine that's not growing as quickly, which makes sense because variegated leaves don't have as much of a means to absorb the light and photosynthesize. So it is what it is. It's the name of the game, but it is growing prolifically. This vine is just, my gosh, I have to wrap it a certain way so that it doesn't hit the grow light on the shelf that it's on. This trellis is from Houseplant Essentials. I love the new leaves. Like, these are new actually. These little 2 pink ones down here. And it's quite beautiful. The lower ones, the firmer ones, are not as new, but all of these on top are nice and soft and plump because they're brand spanking new. I forgot to write the date that I acquired this next plant, which is, where are you? This is the Hoya Crimson Queen. That's how long it is right there. Mind you, it hasn't grown all that much, but I've started to get new little leaves on top. And ooh, this leaf right here, this big variegated one is new. It really takes a moment for this plant to rev up, and I suspect that it's gonna go into some kind of slow growing dormancy very soon because it's already quite dark. I keep it under a grow light in my living room by my north facing window, same as the Crimson Princess, but the Crimson Princess is a prolific grower compared to this guy. Girl, queen. I got this at Marché Milton, and these are hard to come by in Montreal. I find tons of Carnosa, Pubicalyx, a lot of other Hoyas quite easily, but I do not frequently come by this. And again, this is the fault of Wild Fern because she shows off her beautiful Hoya Queen, and I was just in awe. I thought it was so beautiful, and I was like, well, why not make the pairing complete? Get the queen because you already have the princess, might as well. Now I have a very sad story. The leaves on my Hoya croniana silver got all wrinkly. I noticed that the soil wouldn't dry up as it usually would. And when I removed it from its pot, I could see dry, dead, pathetic roots. And so I have made several props from that plant, and I'm trying to see what I can revive. So far, the ones that are doing the best are the ones that are in a Tupperware with wet sphagnum moss underneath a grow light, and the cover is partially on so that it maintains some humidity. And miraculously, some of the leaves have unshriveled somehow. They were just all very dehydrated, essentially. I cut off all the roots and embedded them into sphagnum moss, and I'm gonna see. No, I'm not going to get leca and all the nutrients and all that. That's just, I'm not there yet, guys. I'm a beginner. I'm okay with slow growth as long as the plant doesn't die on me. Next we have a much happier Hoya. This is the Hoya retusa. By the way, Hoya retusa and croniana silver were bought at the same time at the same shop. Both August 19th, I believe. I remember it being my mother's anniversary of her passing, and also I had a really bad time at work. So I remember it vividly. Right after work, I was like, venez ces fleurs right now. I need to buy Hoyas. Retusa it's doing. And apparently you can put this on a trellis. I know I keep saying I'm gonna make another houseplant essentials order. I wanna get the round trellis for this and put it on, but I'm presently keeping this Hoya on one of those windowsills that I have with the glass pane, so I can't even imagine what a pain in the butt it would be to shimmy this plant into there with a trellis on it. So until I figure out some kind of situation where it would be viable to put this on a trellis and keep it receiving the same type of light, I just don't want to mess with it too much. I experienced aphids on this a couple of times, but they were very minor infestations. I think the most I saw on one strand was 10, and I pulled them off immediately. One thing I will say, when you see new growth on a Hoya, or any plant for that matter that has aphids, immediately look at the new growth, and if you have not such an extensive infestation, new growth on the ends are more difficult for the aphids to get to, or at least that's what I noticed. It was the new growth that was inside and close to the soil. That's where the aphids were going and making a mess of this plant. But now they're gone, because every time I check, there are no aphids, and I'm really happy about crassipetiolata. Maybe I gave that an extra syllable and didn't realize. I got this at Canadian Tire a month ago. I was immediately drawn to it because it's a Hoya that I've never seen in person before, except for maybe one time that I went in August when they had received a massive shipment of so many Hoyas, and I really deeply regretted not getting the Hoya pubicalis splash that I saw that day, but it is what it is, and I did get redeemed. So this was actually kind of expensive. It was $13. It was the last one left when I went. It was the end of, I guess, the shipment that they had received at that point in time. I try not to go too often to Canadian Tire because their greenhouse is my kryptonite. They have so many things, and sometimes they have plants that are difficult to find in other places. Despite the short that I uploaded saying that it's probably a slow grower just because it's slowly grown for me, I found a thread on Reddit where people were saying once you trellis this, it goes wild. So I clearly need to strap it onto something to give it some stabilization so that it feels it's supported enough to spew out some more growth. I keep this on a west-facing window because it's the best that I have, y'all. I only have north and west. I don't have any other choices. I would love to have a south and east facing dwelling at some point in time, but for now. So I just have it in this candle holder that I used to use for my ficus shivereana, but right now it's housing my Hoya crassipetiolata. This is my Hoya latifolia variegata, previously known as the Hoya macrophylla or macrophylla. That's what it was labeled as at Canadian Tire, but I know that it has been renamed, although people will use the name that is most popular for the plant as opposed to what it has been reclassified as. I got this for $13. It's huge, but I recently gave it a little repot because oh, you poor, poor, naive Alexa. Future Alexa is here to show you the facts. This is what happens when you buy old Hoyas at Canadian Tire. Only buy the new stuff, guys. I swear. Ugh, I had to cut this up. Guess who else? Guess who else? Oh my gosh. Hoya pubicalis. Pubi over here has been growing like a freaking weed, okay? This is the pothos of the Hoya universe. If you don't have one, they're so common, inexpensive, beautiful foliage, you guys. Absolutely stunning, dark, oh, a little bit splashy too. I love Hoya pubicalyx. I used to think that these are, you know, whatever. They're just such generic, common plants. Who cares? And a lot of people are like, if it's common, nah. No, man. Don't sleep on this, especially if you are a noob to Hoyas. This is the perfect Hoya to start with. It will give you so much serotonin because it grows, like I said, like a freaking weed. I got this. Again, Canadian Tire, take all my money. Take it all. Sponsor me. This is almost 2 months old and it has exploded, y'all. You would see it in the footage that I post on screen. It's just so nice. It's so nice. I love it. I have it wrapped around a Houseplant Essentials trellis, clear trellis, and in one of the clear pots that I got from the same order from Houseplant Essentials with drainage, and it's a 4-inch pot. I love it. Oh my gosh, and it's on a north-facing window where my balcony has overhang, so it doesn't even get that much light, and it's freaking growing like crazy. I love it. I love it. And I went back and got a splash, a pubicalyx splash. This, when did I get this? Because I can't remember off the top of my head. A month ago. 3 weeks later, I went and picked up this one, and this one's also growing. And it's also on a north-facing window, but it's on the north-facing window in this room that has a almost floor-to-ceiling window, and it's on the ground, so it gets a lot of light like that. Really love it. The foliage is a little bit different. Like the color is lighter, and obviously there is a bunch of splashiness to it. The new leaves came out a bit twisted, not broken, but twisted. I mentioned it in a story and on TikTok, and some of you commented, some of you, not that many people comment on my stuff. One person commented and said, you know, that happens sometimes with new growth, even if you didn't touch it or do anything to it, because I really don't think I did anything to it. It is what it is. It came out a little bit funky, but there's also another new leaf right here. 2 actually. This is going to be a prolific grower, and I have it in the Simon's pot. What else do I have? Oh, there's one that I forgot in my Excel, but I remembered to bring over here. I got this at Evasia in Montreal on Thanksgiving Sunday, Canadian Thanksgiving Sunday, so mid-October. I would say like October 13th, October 14th, so exactly a month ago. And this is a Hoya woodii. It is the non-variegated form. I just thought this was so cute. It kind of looks like the taco plant, except, you know, it has the benefit of being a Hoya and having a possibility of blooming in a century from now. But it is what it is, man. It's so pretty. I love the foliage. It's so cute how it has that little fold. It does remind me of like dry tacos. Of course, there's the variegated one, and that one's really nice and popular. That one is way more common to find than this one. This one I had never seen in person up until I went to Evasia, and I also got this pot with it. This was $7.99, and the nursery just fits in perfectly. And this is deep enough that it can collect excess water and I could empty it out if I was in a hurry with my watering, let's say. This was $20. So it was a little bit more of a pricey plant for me, because I honestly have never paid more than $25 for a single plant. And this is my second most expensive, so you do the math. I've got a growth update for the Kalanchoe blasfeldiana, and it now has filled in really nicely since its last chop. The thing about this was it was growing really leggy when my mother had it. I think she didn't know where you were supposed to cut it to shape it. Son of a bee. There are aphids on the new growth. Oh, no. Okay, well, I'm gonna clean this when this video is done. Now that I've noticed that, I'm gonna keep this away from all of my other guys because I just don't want them to be contaminated with aphids. But this does have some aphids, so I've got to spray it down. I'm not entirely surprised because there's a lot of new growth, so I guess that's what they're attracted to. Mammillaria spinosissima. It has, oh gosh, please don't tip over. It's got a bunch of pups. Obviously, as you can tell, this shot is very suggestive. It's etiolated over here, and it's funny because these spines are softer than the parts that aren't etiolated, but whatever it is what it is. I have this in front of my grow light shelf. The tip is under the grow. Just the tip is under the grow light. Oh my god, maturity levels are so high right now. My boyfriend, he made the comment, it looks like warts. I've said I wanted to extract these guys and maybe attempt to do a sort of propagation, prop and chop experimentation on it. Sorry, because I can't keep it this big. I really can't. I don't have the space for it. Mammillaria spinosissima is a type of crawling cacti, so when it starts to mature, it actually topples over and wants to rest, and then that's how you get the flower crown on the end. But I've never gotten the flower crown on this, so I'd like to cut it down and optimize its situation, but I'm not doing that in the winter. That's definitely going to be a spring project here on the channel. So if you would like to see that at some point in time, let me know. Then we have my Monstera deliciosa, which originates from a cutting that my mom took from some plants that a restaurant was disposing of over the restaurant closures in 2020. It has grown prolifically. I have cut off petioles because this thing got too big, and right now it's got some dragging leaves just because of the way that it was oriented as we were growing it up. We didn't realize that you needed to support the back only and not be constantly rotating it. I've already told you guys that I plan on taking a top cut of this and probably disposing of the bottom. I have to do some air layering. It's just not something that I'm doing right now so that I can claim some space back for myself. This has also been a very sentimental plant to me. I love them too. They make me think of her. My Oxalis triangularis. This is one of my favorite plants. I remember going to get this with mom at the Atwater market. She multiplied it, put it into 2 pots. I consolidated it into one because I heard that it likes to be snug. I know how much it loves water. It loves living in a ceramic pot with drainage or a drainage hole. It loves a lot of bright light, so I have it in a corner where on one side it receives window light and on the other side it receives grow light from my shelf. It's standing alone on a pedestal plant stand. Sometimes I'll just water it in place. It's very heavy in this after watering, but yeah. I've always wanted to do this. Like, I always see Sydney Plant Guy do this. It is actually blooming. It's frequently blooming. I got another positive update of a plant that was severely chopped down, and I kept some propagations and they have finally taken. I'm so happy. There was also a little leaf that I had as a water prop that was mixed in with my philodendron micans propagations, and that also grew some roots. So I popped it in here and it's now like a nice little family. And the actual little water propagation grew its own little mini leaf. So now there's 4 leaves together. This, I don't know when my mom got it, but it's baby rubber and it was much larger before, and then it started to drop leaves left and right. It was a learning experience, and I like to do that with plants even if I don't particularly like them, because sometimes I grow fond of them over the fact that I'm taking care of them and reviving them. And then if they die and I really dislike them in a year or so, it won't really be so dramatic. My orchid phalaenopsis, does this need a water? Whatever. Okay, look, it looks a bit like crapola, but it is what it is. It's got so many air roots in the back. Look at it, it's just like meh. This orchid is special. I've already told you guys it was the last gift for my mother's birthday that her best friend gave her, and it had beautiful blooms, beautiful, but I had to cut back the bloom spikes because they kept turning brown. Every time I cut them, they would go browner and black, and then so it was self-cutting, like split ends. So I cut that all out. Oh, what? You guys, can you clarify if that's a bloom spike? Because oh my god. Part of the reason why I like doing these updates is sometimes I find things that I didn't notice a couple of days ago because I don't water this every 5 minutes, and also because I need to check my plants for pests. So while I'm filming the B-roll or I'm filming these little talk-throughs, I gotta backfill this. This is ridiculous, but y'all, that does not look like an aerial root. That looks like a freaking bloom spike. I will cry when this blooms again. Philodendron Brazil with that nice little variegation. I did think that it'd be nice to get a Philodendron Rio, but fat chance finding that. So I found this, and then maybe I saw one that looked really similar to the Rio, but then I thought, you know, I'm probably not going to get a pothos neon or a lemon lime philodendron anytime soon. I got it from Marche Milton, and I still have to take maybe another cutting from it to get it to root to give to my receptionist friend at work, because she gave me a new plant that I'll show you guys at the end of this video, because I haven't even put it in my sheet. $8.99. $8.99. Really nice. Like this. Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, another princess in my collection. This, of course, is the Philodendron Pink Princess, otherwise known as the Philodendron erubescens. Anyway, I did see that there's a bunch of different versions of pink princesses out now, like the Gala Pink Princess. I consider these plants to be flankers of one another. If you're familiar with perfumes, you know that they release different editions of perfumes all the time, like a rose version. This is the plant that started the accumulation. I purchased this, how could I forget, on the weekend of Saint Jean-Baptiste here in Quebec, which is basically like Canada Day for Quebecers, and that is June 24th. So we get 2 long weekends in a row, which is really nice. Don't you love how new growth looks though? It looks so funky. Like, philodendrons are weird. I love the pink variegation. I know some people complain that this one is, oh, the variegation is so irregular, blah, blah, blah. It's a plant, y'all. Like, it's not meant to be perfect. It's a living, imperfect thing. I have it in a candle holder right now. This is from Bath & Body Works, I think. I need to water it, especially with that new growth coming in. And I do gotta cut off some of those old leaves at the bottom. But apart from that, hey, whatever, yeah, whatever. I thought about putting this on a moss pole, but then I just didn't. This is not the mother plant. This is a baby philodendron micans, philomicans. I've found spiders, like full-grown spiders in my kalanchoe, so I gotta check that out because a lot of spiders are coming in from outside because it's getting cold and they like to dwell in the home. This philodendron micans, I have a bigger version of it, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to lug, and I won't be able to get it in frame with this camera, so I will show some B-roll clips of it while I quickly discuss. I purchased this at Vinis et Fleurs, which is a plant store where I got a few of my Hoyas as well. When did I get this? 4 months ago, exactly. It's nicknamed the Velvet Leaf Philodendron, and that is exactly the reason why I was so attracted to it. I love the foliage. I love that it's got red backs, and it reminds me of MAC Club eyeshadow. If you remember that duochrome eyeshadow, that was this gorgeous green with that beautiful reddish burgundy flecks. This is Club eyeshadow in a plant. This is the last philodendron, y'all. This is the Philodendron Paraíso Verde, which, what is it nicknamed? It had a really weird nickname. Marina Rui Barbosa. I purchased this a month ago. It was from the liquidation section. It actually has a bit of a stump from what appeared to be a damaged parent plant. I cut down that stem because it was just this large naked stem, and I tried to do a wet stick propagation because it had roots on it, aerial roots coming out of it, but it didn't work. I took off a few of the leaves that had superficial damage. I already see one new leaf coming out, but it's not the first new leaf that I've gotten from this since buying it a month ago. The leaves are, you know, it doesn't look like a paraíso verde, so there's no variegation on it like there should be. And it just still looks like a little baby, so it's hard to tell what it's going to end up looking like at some point in time. Whatever, $5. They got me, they got me. This is the Pilia peperomoides. There is a money tree, but then there's the Chinese money tree, which is the one that looks like the little coin leaves. Yeah, the leaves are a little bit pathetic sometimes. The bottom leaves tend to drop over time. My colleague gave me this. It was a runner from the Pilia in the reception at my job, but I tell her all the time, like, this is your grandchild because it belongs to your daughter Pilia. Not normal. I kind of dislike this plant a little bit right now, so I want to give it a pretty pot to maybe catch my attention. Yeah, this is my most expensive plant, guys. Say hello to my Ripsalis pilocarpa from Jean Talon Market. It has only one long strand left. Look at it. Oh my god. All the new little growth on here is so cute. It even turns out like a little bit lighter. Oh my god. Be still my heart. I don't know why I love this plant so much. I told you guys that I had done propagations, and listen, this pot is it was a little bit vacant from the side. I actually dislodged what was a very root-bound, solid situation. I gave it a haircut and made props out of those cuttings, and then just, I mean, they hung out in a pot for about a month. One of you had recommended that I break up the root ball and stick the propagations in. That's kind of what I did, but I did like the lazy version of that. But for the most part, the stems are actually healthy and all that jazz. This is the only long stem that I kept because, come on now, this thing is epic. Look at it, it's so cute. It's nicknamed the mistletoe cactus. I think it also has a nickname that calls it a hairy something. 2 months and 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it sounds about right. Seems like it would have been Labor Day weekend when I got this. This is my Thanksgiving cactus. Mom had this for a long time, split it in two. It's a grocery store Thanksgiving cactus. Pink blooms, like deep pink blooms. And the reason it's not blooming right now is I did pinch a lot of tips in September, meaning that the leaves are too new. There are 3 varieties: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter. I have just purchased a Christmas version of this cactus. I want them all. I want the Easter one as well. I just don't really know where I'm gonna put it or how I'm gonna do it, but I gave my boyfriend's mother the copy of this, and when I repotted it, I accidentally left a few things in the soil, and I didn't realize that there were some, oh my gosh, the word escapes me, corms. This plant is an absolute stunner, and it's a prolific bloomer. It's inexpensive, it's so easy to propagate and share with people. It's really light right now, I should probably water it. I have it in a north-facing window with overhang. Sometimes it's on the windowsill. Well, rather, when it was smaller, it was on the windowsill. Sometimes it's on my bookshelf, well, my plant shelf. This plant loves these shallow Dollarama ceramic pots with drainage. Here is the Christmas version. They all come in so many varieties of colors, like pink, yellow, red, and I haven't repotted this yet, but it's going to be going into another one of those Dollarama pots just because I know that it likes that, and it's going to look fantastic with these white blooms. One thing I really love about these white blooms is that they have a little bright pink I don't know what that's called, that matches exactly with the flowers that I have on the Thanksgiving cactus. So I figured they would combine very nicely. We have 3 more plants, okay guys? I promise this is almost done. But I'm having such a good time and I hope you are too. I went out and got a burrito, or a burro's tail. I don't know what it is about this. I just felt like it. I don't know. I think I saw Crystal Plants talk about hers or repot hers with the little beans, and her comedic, just heartfelt plant care videos always make me melt. And I saw this and it was $6.99, y'all, at Canadian Tire. I saw this for more expensive at Pipinera, or what am I saying? Pipinera? Pipineri Locas, I think it was, and they were a little bit expensive over there and not in as fancy of condition. I keep this in my west-facing window, but I do feel I'm gonna have to prop it up against a grow light because it's not going to be getting very much from here on out, probably. No. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens with this. I purchased this 22 days ago. Syngonium Pink Perfection, I believe this is the Pink Perfection variety. It has a lot of little new growth coming in. I did give it a little bit of a trim. It had some ugly leaves that were either like tarnished or damaged, but yeah, I wanted to try a Syngonium. This came planted in with the Ficus elastica shivereana, even though it shouldn't have been. But it came with that, and I got it at Jean Couture. They both had their little condoms on, you know, the little mesh traps that they put on plants. They were both trapped individually. This is another plant that I got from my colleague. I forget the name of it. I believe you can make tea with this, and it has a really nice lemony kind of sweet smell to it. And it's very cute and fuzzy, really cute to the touch. It leaves the odor on your fingers when you feel the foliage. I've just put it in the pedestal planter that I got from Simon's. That is that really awkward shape. I'm gonna have to figure out another situation, but for now, this'll do. I keep this on my north-facing windowsill. Whoa, if you were here, I just want to thank you for watching all the way through. Be sure to click the video on screen, which is how I style my houseplants, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!